It's time for Inside the L, the podcast covering all things LaSalle athletics and taking you behind the scenes.
Welcome back to episode 2 of the Inside the L podcast. I'm your host, Greg Caserta, and on this Tuesday, it's a very quick turnaround and a busy day for our next guest, the head women's swimming coach at LaSalle, Kerry Smith, kind enough to pop on and join us for a few minutes. So as I said before, thanks for taking the time, especially on the day of a meet. Let's get into the team. How are they feeling going into Villanova today?
I would say they're a little tired, a little beat up, but it's a good thing for them to get ready to bounce back after an invite. So they had a great invite. We had 21 best times at the invite, and 2 school records went down. So I think they should be ready to go, and we're leading into Thanksgiving break. So it's kind of, there's that little token, I guess you can say, at the end of the meet that can get them really through it.
So the invite in question, the Bucknell Invitational over the weekend that you were a part of?
Correct. Yes.
Now, can you explain to someone that isn't familiar with the sport what those days are like? You have 3 days of competitions. Can you just explain what it's like? Because I think I can guess, but for somebody that doesn't know, what goes into those 3 days?
Yeah, so we typically go up at least a day before, just to kind of shake out the legs and the arms, get the body to rest. But we wake up early. It's a prelim final situation. So I usually ask them to wake up 3 hours before the start of a meet, get moving. So breakfast is at 7. We head to the pool at 8 a.m. Session starts 10 a.m. in the morning. And then usually it goes to about 12 to 1, depending on how quick the meet runs. The morning is the most important session.
Sure.
If you swim fast in the morning, you make it back at night. If you don't swim fast in the morning, you don't make it back at night. And at night, that's when the points are scored. So the goal is to swim fast in the morning, make it back so we can score points. It's set up just like our championship meet. We go home after the 1 p.m. We head back to the pool at 4 p.m. And then we're there typically between 8:30 and 9 p.m. And then we head back to the hotel, grab dinner, and hit the bed. And repeat that for 3 days.
So with that going on, there's obviously a lot that goes into it in terms of the competition, in terms of being at the pool. Is there bonding time? Are you able to go out? Like you said, it's a late dinner, so it's not like you have time during the day where you can have team bonding and things like that. But do you find that those events help bring them together because of the oddities of the schedule?
Absolutely. And I think like this past weekend, we tried to room them with people that they might not be in a townhouse together or a dorm room. So it gives them that opportunity to really get intimate with them. But then also you have the funny things that all happen on deck, or you're maybe on the way from the pool to the hotel. There's things on the bus that might go down that are pretty funny, whether it's karaoke going on or whatever it is. But there's a lot of opportunities for the team to get closer and really just have a good experience, and get to know each other better.
This interview with head swimming and diving coach Carrie Smith was brought to you by MaiKai Wellness. It is no secret that being an athlete at any level takes a significant toll on your mental and physical health. Exercise may be painful at times, but we all know it is one of the most important things a person can do to live a healthy life. MaiKai Company has a catalog of over 17 CBD-infused products that are used to help athletes with pain, inflammation, anxiety, sleep, pre-workout preparation, and post-workout recovery. Our products are third-party tested and only include the highest quality ingredients. Whether professional or for leisure, there is a product for the athlete in each and every one of you. Visit MaiKaiCompany.com to learn more. That's MaiKai Company.com.
Kerry Smith, our guest on the Inside the L podcast, head women's swimming coach at Salle. So this is a weird part of the schedule. Like you said before, you've got the Bucknell Invitational where you've got a busy weekend. Now you have Villanova today on a Tuesday, and then you've got a long layover before the next meet with Thanksgiving coming up, the Christmas holiday. So is there a lot of time to reflect during the time off, or is it business as usual?
It's typically we reflect, but more so it's business as usual. So they get back, we'll give them Thanksgiving break, enjoy their families. Actually, our men have a meet against NJIT on December 3rd. So they don't quite get as much of a break as the women, but we will come back and then train. We have to get ready for the second half of the year. So this was a good place to see where we're at and how practices are going and what we need to change or where we can build on. And I think with the women, it's just a big building block now because they had a heck of a meet.
Where are we with Thanksgiving for you? How high up does it rank on the list of holidays? Where are you going to be on Thanksgiving? And of course, the most important question, what is your favorite side dish?
Oh, I think the side dish does pumpkin pie count?
That counts. That absolutely counts. You can eat it whenever you want. It's the one day a year that nobody minds if you throw it on the same plate with all the savory food.
Yeah. So I would have to go with that because otherwise the turkey that's the best part for me. So, but I'll be home. I'll be at my parents'.
Good.
And my brother comes up with his kids and his family from North Carolina, and my other brother's here. So it's a great time to just spend with the family and yeah, I love Thanksgiving. So it'll be nice. Not
Kerry,
quite relaxing. The kids are a little rowdy at this time.
well, I was going to say, so given your schedule and how crazy it is, not just in season, but out of season, is it hard to get the family together where you have everybody under the same roof and you really do have a day where it's like, okay, we can all unplug and you're actually a part of the festivities?
It's tough.
Yeah.
Like holiday time, usually it's after the season's over because right now it's still finishing up with recruiting, even getting started more with our 2023 kids. So the mind's always running. You try and turn it off, but something usually comes up.
Carrie Smith, the head women's swimming coach at Salle, our guest on episode 2 of the Inside the L podcast. So I have to cheat a little bit here because doing my research on you, I thought that I moved around a lot calling minor league baseball, but the stops that you've made, Yale, Virginia, Wingate University in North Carolina, Division II Truman State. That's a lot of bouncing around. Did you anticipate that being part of the process when you got into coaching?
To a degree, but not as much and not as often. But so the short answer is no, I didn't expect that.
Okay. Now you come to LaSalle from Stony Brook, where you were there for the last 3 years. And aside from what your student athletes did in the pool, it was also a really good academic group that you had there. And to me, in the end, that's the most important thing, right? Is to, yes, be able to field a competitive team, but also to get them ready for life after these 4 years of college.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's pretty cool to see what some of them are doing. And like we didn't have too many because it was a startup program. So we have 3 that are out. One went to get her master's at Johns Hopkins. One's in Cali right now, and she's pursuing, she wants to become a doctor. And then the other is getting her internship she works at like not preservations, but like at aquariums, and like she's all about the marine life. So it's pretty cool to see what they're doing, and I'm excited to kind of follow them like in their career. The one that wants to be a doctor, she's also started a bunch of different businesses on her own, and she had that actually started when she was at Stony Brook. So
does it bring you back to your own time when you were at Penn State and remembering what it was like to juggle the responsibilities of being a Division I athlete, but also realizing, hey, I still have classes and a degree to attain?
Yeah, it definitely does. It's good though. It, like, from my experience, I had a lot of fun with it. And I tell the kids now it's a lot easier in college to balance everything. And then you get to the real world and you don't realize how many other things you have to balance on top of all of that.
Kerry, is it true that you not only attained one, but two bachelor's degrees? Did I read that correctly?
You did read that correctly. I try not to say much about that because I felt like they flowed pretty well together, so I got lucky. Plus, the one was a lot of fun. Like the advertising, public relations was, it was a blast. Like you got to write campaigns and just put it. It was more enjoyment for me, and I like the creative end of everything. The business, that part I thought was important in general. Like my grandpa was a businessman, so that's kind of what led me into that.
I'm going to go back to that for a second. You just mentioned something that I'm curious about. What did your grandfather do?
He worked with some of the first computers, so he did a lot of like point of sale systems, but he also worked like for NASA for a little bit. Wow. And he did like for General Instruments, worked there. And then he started his own company and traveled the world doing like computerized lottery systems. So he created the lottery system for New Jersey. And there's a racetrack outside of, used to be in Connecticut, still is in New Haven, but it was one of the first ones that was online horse racing. So he did some pretty cool stuff.
So I can tell you that in the Caserta family, the profession of sports broadcaster is certainly an outlier from what the majority of the family does. Does head women's swimming coach fit the same bill for you and your family? Is it one of those that it's kind of a departure from what everybody else ended up doing with their lives?
Yeah, to a degree. Like my one brother and my mom taught, so I kind of look at it as teaching, but just I chose swim like a sport.
Yeah. Was it a no-brainer for you? Like thinking back when it was time to leave Penn State and make that next move and take that next big step, did you know right away that this was what you wanted to do?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I actually started in corporate. So I worked at PNC Bank, and right here in Philadelphia, across from the airport. And so I worked there for a few years and coached out at the Upper Main Line Y. And that's where I started to really fall in love with, like, this is what I want to do full time. It's rewarding. B, like, I thought I was pretty good at it. And and C, like just being able to have the relationships. So Billy, who's one of my assistants, he was actually one of my athletes when I was at the Upper Main Line Y.
Wow.
So it's kind of come full circle. It's cool to work with him now. I'm really proud of him, and I'm happy that he's part of the staff.
This interview with head swimming and diving coach Carrie Smith was brought to you by MaiKai Wellness. It is no secret that being an athlete at any level takes a significant toll on your mental and physical health. Exercise may be painful at times, but we all know it is one of the most important things a person can do to live a healthy life. MaiKai Company has a catalog of over 17 CBD-infused products that are used to help athletes with pain, inflammation, anxiety, sleep, pre-workout preparation, and post-workout recovery. Our products are third-party tested and only include the highest quality ingredients. Whether professional or for leisure, there is a product for the athlete in each and every one of you. Visit MaiKaiCompany.com to learn more. That's MaiKai Company.com.
Carrie Smith is our guest on the Inside the L podcast. She is the head women's swimming coach at LaSalle. So I was going to ask you, because you actually just mentioned it, but you've only been back in the city for about 5 months. You were named head coach in July. So I was going to ask how you're faring in your return to Philadelphia, but it seems like you already had a pretty good base with the city already.
Yeah, it's great to be home. When it got announced, I have a number of old teammates in the area. They've reached out, and so it's been kind of, I feel at home, which is really nice. It's relaxing. We've got a great group of employees here at LaSalle, so a bunch of us have hung out and gone down to all the different stadiums in Philadelphia and been able to just explore again. So it's good.
Kerry, who are your biggest influences that have no connection to the sport of swimming whatsoever?
Can they have connections to sport in general?
Yeah, of course.
So I would say one of my biggest influencers, I actually had played basketball when I was younger. And her name's Denise Crawford. She actually played for the Mighty Macs of Immaculata. And there was a lot that she taught me when I was younger that kind of has made me think over the years of like what I can get better at and how I perceive things. I think another person that has been a big influencer, and I don't know why basketball keeps coming back, but she's actually, and I might not want to say this, but she's actually at George Washington as the head coach there. Caroline McCombs just was a big influence on me while I was at Stony Brook. Just really helped, since it was my first head job, kind of give me little tidbits on what's helped her. And it's really helped me kind of as I've grown as a head coach. And then obviously outside of that, my grandpa inspired me to this day. Like I always say, if I have a third of the success he had, I had a pretty good life.
I love hearing the family side of it. Kerry Smith is our guest on the Inside the L podcast, the head swimming and diving coach at LaSalle, covering both programs. And again, doing this on a day where you got to go to Villanova and go into the long Thanksgiving break. So I'm rooting for you, and got a couple more questions for you. I was curious, as a former collegiate swimmer who became an assistant coach and now a head coach, do the butterflies change? You know, that energy and that anxiousness that you feel, do they change over time, or is it roughly the same from when you first stepped in the pool all those years ago?
Oh, they're still there.
Yeah.
and I don't think it will ever change. I think if it does change, that might be a sign that it's time for me to take a step back. I tell the swimmers when they get nervous or have them, I'm like, that nervousness, it's a privilege to have. And it's something that I think shows that we have passion about the sport, about competing. And I really, I love it. I don't want to change that. And I hope it doesn't ever change.
Can you take us back to your own career at Penn State? Big Ten championships in 2002 and 2005. Before your final season, you're named team captain. Is that something that you expected? Was it something that caught you off guard? How did you find out about that?
Yeah, so we had a big group of our senior class. I think we were all named team captain. And the coolest part for me is like our team and our grade wouldn't be the same without each of us. If you take one of us out, we all respected each other. And I think that's why our team was so successful, is because it wasn't about one person. It was about us working as a whole, having different opinions, but respecting one another. And I thought it was a really cool decision that my coach made. And I think it was earned by all of us. Like, we all came from day one, worked our tails off year in and year out, day in and day out. And I think that you saw the progress and what we helped build. And it started with our seniors my freshman year too.
Okay.
Like, we learned a lot from them. They were an incredible class to mentor all of us. And I think that's the biggest thing, is we all learned and we all wanted to continue to learn. And if you look at us now, like what we're doing, we have some pretty special women in my class that, like, one's a professor at Kentucky, one's working for ESPN, one is teaching, one has opened her own business. The list goes on. The one, I'm not sure if I can say what she does. So,
Okay.
but it's a pretty cool group that I was privileged to, in a sense, grow up with, like, even though you don't really consider growing up with your college teammates, but you get to see all their families now. And I was lucky for that coach gave me the opportunity.
I'll go back to Penn State in a second, but what you just said about the seniors that kind of set the tone when you were freshmen, is that something that is easy to draw on when you look at building your own type of culture? Like, is that really for you as a head coach the ultimate goal, like setting that tone from the top down and having it work down to the athletes that you bring into the program?
Absolutely. And I think that's sometimes the challenge of new coaches. And I've been lucky with taking over here, because you have Sarah Rossetto, you have Annie Moser, you have Kay Doherty, you have Samara. We have a great core group, and I don't want to forget our divers. So you have Julie, you have Phoebe, and you have Caitlin. So, like, it's a good group. They work super hard, and I think their results show. Like, they show how hard work helps, and not just helps, it defines how well you do.
Couple of more questions for our guest on Inside the Yell. Kerry Smith, kind enough to spend a few minutes with us. She is the head swimming and dive coach at Salle. So let's go back to that Penn State group. And you talked about some of the things that your teammates are now doing. It's clear that there was a special bond there. So are you able to get together? Have you been able to go back on campus as a team where maybe they bring back that 05 squad and you're able to get the gang together again? Have you been able to experience something like that?
Unfortunately, I haven't. They have brought back, I'm trying to think when it was. It might have been 2015 that they brought everyone back, but we were in seison and I couldn't make it back.
I figured as soon as you said it, I figured it crossed over. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm hoping in the future, but the cool thing with COVID, I guess you can say, if you want to look at the positives, is we started Skyping as a class.
Oh, that's terrific.
And so it's been fun to, like, some of their kids will get on the calls and but just catching up and seeing how everyone's doing, and just knowing, like, even though they might be in a different industry, like you're going through similar things. And so we're able to talk through different things, and but just then reminisce, have some funny laughs. And the best is I can sometimes throw in little things that come up during practice, and they're like, "Oh, do you remember back in the day?" And it's good. It's been really nice.
I'm curious for your teammates who have no real connection to the sport anymore, what their memories are like of that time when you had those 4 years as student athletes. For you, are those memories still very vivid because you're still at the pool every day?
Yeah, they definitely are. And I feel like I don't grow up because I'm surrounded by college kids all the
That's what I
time.
like to hear. That's the golden answer right there.
But I think most of them, it's starting to come back because a lot of them, their kids are starting to swim. So they're now back on the pool deck and they're like, "Oh, do you remember this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't quite forget that," but yeah, so it's good.
One final question for you. A day like today where you're up early, fortunately, the commute to Villanova isn't so bad, so you're not spending too much time on the bus. But after a meet, are you wired and ready to go? Like, are you still buzzing from the event, or are you completely drained at that point?
So like a Villanova meet, I'm probably gonna be buzzing a little bit, and
Yeah.
then it's kind of like drinking coffee. You've got that high, and then all of a sudden you'll crash. But the 3-day meet, like the Bucknell Invite, as soon as that was over, you're down.
Well, Carrie, I appreciate you taking a few minutes today. I hope we can do this again because I really like talking with you about a sport that, admittedly, for me, is not one that I have a lot of familiarity with. I think that this is a really good eye opener for what goes into your job, and for people that aren't familiar with the sport. I know that I'm going to be keeping tabs on this group now, and I loved hearing your story. So I hope we can do this again.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Greg. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. That's Kerry Smith, the head swimming and dive coach at Salle University going into the Thanksgiving holiday. Kerry, enjoy the pumpkin pie, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you very much, Greg. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks.